My name is Amy Zabran. If you're watching this video, you're probably sitting in school thinking about how much homework you have, what you're doing this weekend, and everything else that goes with being a teenager today. Your teen years can be the most exciting time in your life, but what you never expect is something that happened to me. When I was a teenager, I faced a very difficult challenge. I needed a heart transplant when I was 14. I'm here today because I received a new heart, a heart that was donated by another teenager who made the decision to donate her organs if she died. I was very lucky, but many people aren't so lucky. Today, we want to talk about your decision to become an organ and tissue donor after you die. This is different than donating an organ while you're still alive. We'll cover more of this later, but right now, let's meet some other teens and hear what they have to say about organ and tissue donation.
I don't really think about organ donation. I'm still pretty young, just like to live life, you know.
Yes, I have thought about organ donation, and I like the way that people are willing to give up their loved ones' organs to save another person's life.
Being on the transplant list is like really hard because you just never know when it's going to happen. And it's really frustrating at night when you go to sleep and you kind of know that that day wasn't the day that you were going to get a transplant. And the next day, it's another day of waiting and wondering. It's really hard because it's been about a year and a half now that I've been waiting for another kidney to come up, and it's just really hard to wait every day and just wonder. I go to dialysis 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for about 4 to 5 hours each time. The kidney function in my body doesn't work, so they use a dialysis machine to do what my kidneys can't do. They put 2 needles in my arm where there's a catheter, and they remove a small amount of blood at a time, and a machine cleans the blood and removes like toxic stuff and poisonous stuff that normally my kidney would clean out, and then they would put the blood back into my body and take more blood out and just repeat that process for about 4 hours while I sit there. I will be doing dialysis until I get a transplant to stay alive. I can't do it and not stay alive. When I was younger, I could do anything really that I wanted, and that's kind of what makes this being on the list right now harder, because I know what it's like to be normal, because I was normal for more than half my life. I can't do a lot of things that I want to do. I get tired very easily when I do strenuous things like run around or swim. I'm not allowed to eat pizza. I can't drink cola or anything like that. I can't ride a roller coaster. And I love riding roller coasters when I was younger, but I can't do that anymore. So when my friends go there for a day out, I can't really do anything. So that gets frustrating sometimes. I have a lot of problems with school because I can't attend school as many hours as other kids. So I'm behind in credits to graduate high school. And I really want to graduate with my friends in 4 years. It's really important to me. Sometimes at night when I'm trying to sleep, I think to myself, why is this happening to me? But I try to keep a positive outlook and just sort of focus on the things that I can do and just stick with that and just deal with the things I can't do as they come along.
I used to hear the pleas to be a donor and stuff, and I didn't really pay that much attention to it when I was young. I didn't even think about it. I'm immortal, and it's not going to be a big problem. And then, of course, Robert's situations made me really think hard about it.
If a person signs his or her driver's license, that person is giving the gift of hope to someone he or she may not know. And I think that's important for people to think about. Make that decision ahead of time so that the family can carry out those wishes and help someone else.
A lot of people are waiting for all kinds of organs and bones and tissue and stuff like that. And I think that if you can help someone end their suffering when you're gone, then you should definitely be a part of that.
The only reason I'm worried about being a donor is because I'm not sure if my religion supports it.
Actually, every major Eastern and Western religion supports organ donation as one of the greatest acts of human compassion, one of the greatest gifts that you can give.
Well, what would probably bother me about being an organ donor would be that if I was in a coma or a car crash, that the doctors would see on my driver's license that I was an organ donor, and they wouldn't work on me as well because they would want to use my organs for other people.
Nothing could be further from the truth. That would never happen. After the doctors do everything they can, but death is declared, people from an organ procurement organization are called to the hospital. Only then do they talk to the patient's family about the possibility of donation.
I think I would be an organ and tissue donor, but if I actually did die, I think it would be really hard on my parents to make all the organ donation arrangements after doing so much for me already.
The donation organization will take care of all the work. They coordinate the process with the hospital and the transplant teams while supporting your family the entire time.
I really want to sign up to be an organ and tissue donor. It's just that because of school and extracurricular activities and homework, I really don't have enough time to do all the paperwork that's involved.
Signing up to be an organ and tissue donor is easy. Simply fill in the information on the back of your driver's license or fill out a donor card for the state in which you live. The most important step is sharing your decision with your family so they are aware of your wishes to become a donor.
Well, I always knew since I was younger that I would have to have a transplant, but it wasn't until I was 17 they actually put me on the list. I've started college 3 times already. The doctors would say carrying too many books or walking across campus would be too much on my heart, so they basically put me on no school before the transplant. After the transplant, I felt like a whole new person, full of energy, full of air. I can breathe, I can walk long distances, I can get out of bed fast without being lightheaded, just like a brand new person.
Since her heart transplant, I believe Rebecca has become stronger. She's more outgoing, and she's very, very determined as far as career and just everyday life. And she's just a real happy person right now.
I'm in school right now to be a cardiac nurse for kids, adults, anybody, especially people for transplants.
Many times I thought that she wasn't gonna make it because of the 3 times she was supposed to get the heart. It didn't come through because of some stuff that happened.
My donor's name is Lisa. She was an exchange student from Italy. She was a nursing student as well. She was in her last year when she died. Her family told me that she always wanted to be a donor.
It made me feel grateful that Lisa became an organ donor, because if she didn't, I don't think we would have found her heart. Probably would have lost her.
It's great to know that her family was able to follow through with her decisions and her dreams. And it just makes me proud that we have people out there like that. And that helped my friend, and I'm very grateful for that.
I had the opportunity to meet her family as well as the other organ recipients. Sitting at the table, I saw how many lives can be saved. I owe so much to Lisa and her family for carrying out her wishes of being an organ and tissue donor.
The only thing that worries me about becoming an organ tissue donor is that I hate to think about it, but if I did die young, I wouldn't want my body all cut up, so I wouldn't be able to have an open casket at my funeral.
Organ and tissue donation does not disfigure the body. The donation is a surgery in which the organs and tissue are carefully recovered and the body carefully restored afterward.
Well, I don't really see what the point is of becoming an organ and tissue donor. You hear about all these cases in the media where people just get transplants and die a week later anyway, so what's the point?
More than 22,000 organ transplants are successfully performed in the U.S. each year. People just like me go on to live normal, healthy lives.
Well, I would become an organ and tissue donor, but it seems that so many people are already donating that it just doesn't seem that I would make a difference, really.
Every organ and tissue donor can make a difference. One donor can save or improve the lives of more than 25 people.
When my uncle passed away, I was in school, and I don't know, it was in the middle of the day, and I got a call, and it was a really big shock because he died of a brain aneurysm, and pretty much I was just in really big shock because I never thought anyone would just die of natural causes at the age of 30.
My uncle was the youngest of all my dad's brothers, so whenever I visited Ecuador, which was about every year and a half or so, he would be the one we'd always play with. He was always my favorite uncle. The issue of organ donation came up when a counselor from the Organ Procurement Center came and spoke to my family. Thankfully, he was able to speak Spanish, therefore all my uncles could understand, and they explained where they were from. They were very understanding, very kind, very patient, and the cousin that my uncle actually lived with had asked him just a few weeks before what he felt about organ donation because of a paper she was writing. And it turns out that he was very open to the idea. He felt that, you know, if he could help others after his own death, he should. It was definitely something that the whole family had to feel comfortable with, especially his wife, even though she was so far away. And I believe that in speaking to my dad and my mom and the counselor, she was able to think about it, and realizing that that's what her husband wanted was what made her okay with it.
After my uncle passed away, I realized that organ donation is a really good idea, and I myself have signed up to be an organ donor, and my family knows that, and I think that most of them have done that too.
We've heard several stories of what it means to be an organ and tissue donor and seen how people's lives are affected by the need for these life-saving gifts. But who can donate their organs, and what organs can be used? Virtually anyone can be a donor. Organs that can be donated are heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestine.
Tissues that can be donated are corneas, certain bones, several types of veins, heart valves, and skin.
When I was 14 years old, I was diagnosed with cardiomyopathy. I would soon find myself in a moving story similar to the ones you've already heard. When I was 2 years old, I was diagnosed with cancer. It was called rhabdomyosarcoma, and it was a tumor in my chest and liver. I was in full recovery after a couple years, and I lived a completely normal life, except one of the chemotherapy drugs slightly weakened my heart muscle. When I was 14, I was sitting on the couch just watching television, and my mom noticed that I was breathing faster.
We called the cardiologist and thought we should bring her in for a checkup, at which point we found out that her heart function had decreased significantly. And the doctor at that point found out that she was having arrhythmias, and it was much worse than they had anticipated, and that she would need a heart transplant.
Really, the doctors did not know if I had hours or minutes or days left.
The 14-year-old Wheeling girl is fighting for her life.
For Amy Zabrin's family, an emotional roller coaster.
The marquee at Wheeling High School shows that Amy's friends and classmates wish her well.
Sending letters to her and postcards and in a lot of our classes to let her know that we care and we hope she gets better and be able to come back to school with us.
And after those first few weeks, and we saw the heart wasn't coming, and we saw her to start deteriorating, that's when it got very, very difficult.
That was probably, in some regards, even worse than the actual operations, is watching her deteriorate because there was no organ.